FNaF fan games. Odds are you've probably played one. So why is it that few of them are actually scary? The whole purpose of FNaF was to leave the player feeling uneasy long after they closed the game. But I really haven't played a single fan game that has managed to do that. That was until I replayed Jollibee's Phase 2. A few weeks back, I got really sick and was stuck inside the house for a few days. While I was recovering, I started to replay a bunch of older fan games I still had on my computer. It was a pretty fun time revisiting some old classics like the Candies and Flumpties games. That was until I found something that I thought I had long forgotten. There it was, Jollibee's Phase 2, just sitting there on my hard drive collecting virtual dust. It had been years since the game had released, and also been years since it was removed. This was the game that transpired my love for the horror genre, and also what I would consider to be the only fan game to actually scare me. I would love to tell you the story of this trailblazing game and the events that transpired because of it. But before that, we need to go back. On July 4th, 2018, Jolly series developer Ivan G released a teaser to Game Jolt showcasing a small environment in a new game he had been working on. People were quick to speculate what this new project could be. The then small Jolly community was left mostly in the dark until August 2nd, 2019, when Jollibee is released. The game was a soft reboot for the series, featuring a new cast of characters from the very real Jollibee restaurants. The characters featured in the games were real characters used in the real-life restaurants with very minimal changes made to them. That's an important detail for later on. The game Jollibees did a great job in restoring interest in the Jolly series, and quickly became one of the most popular fan games in the series, at a time where fan games weren't doing so well. To say that Jollibee's reach was large is a bit of an understatement. Of course, fans wanted more, and just how soon would we get something new was unknown. Near the end of December 2019, a new game page was pushed out for a sequel game titled Jollibee's Phase 2. As time passed, new information would surface, including an analog-style teaser trailer revealing the characters' new designs. The VHS tape was absolutely creepy in every sense. I remember not being able to bring myself to watch it when it first released. I was that scared. On April 8th, 2020, Jollibee's Phase 2 dropped, and I was all over it from the moment the game released. I even convinced my closest online friend Matthew to wake up with me at 6 AM to play the game the moment it was released. So without any further delay, let's delve into Jollibee's Phase 2. Phase 2 opens on us receiving a phone call from a man named Michael, who is literally just Michael Scott from The Office, let's just be honest here. Michael opens the call apologizing for us having to take his night shift position. We work for LBM Shipments Inc., a shipment and logistics company. A couple of days prior, Jollibee shut its doors for health code violations, after one of the animatronics started smelling up the place. The animatronics were to be shipped to the Jolly Entertainment storage facility, where they'll, go into storage. So for now, we're stuck with them until they can be safely delivered. Michael leads us to our control panel. This is the menu for everything game-related in Phase 2, and it's where you'll be spending most of your time in between shifts. On the left-hand side, there are 3 different sections. The home menu, where we can start the night shift or upgrade items in the warehouse, more on that later. The jobs panel, where we'll find vacant chores around the warehouse. These range from checking boxes, printing labels, and even operating a box transporting robot. The final menu is the shop. None of the items featured have any in-game benefit, but hey, they look cool. Also, the George plushie is absolutely adorable. You knew I blew my first paycheck on this guy. Michael then leads us into the first night. Over the phone, he informs us of our actual job. As opposed to most fan games, watching over the building isn't at the forefront of our priority. We actually have a job, and defending ourselves is more of a bonus. Our actual job is moving boxes to their respective carriers using a conveyor belt. As complicated as it sounds, it's really easy. Each box that rolls off the conveyor belt will have a letter corresponding to their destination. We need to click and drag this node to match the letter on the box. We can only drag one node at a given time, so we need to be vigilant to make sure we don't miss any boxes. If we do happen to mess up, it'll count as an error. Get too many errors, and we die. Also, you may have noticed this massive security tab on the side of the maintenance panel. Aside from the actual job, we have to watch over the building to make sure that there aren't any intruders. Okay, yeah, big surprise, the animatronics move around tonight. Thankfully, there are multiple defenses against the animatronics. First up is the motion detector. As the name implies, it scans the building for any motion. The second are the cameras. They work fine, I guess. I don't know what it is with fan games making the cameras impossible to see anything out of, but it's really annoying and kinda defeats the whole purpose of having them. The third and most powerful defense is the audio system. Trust me, this thing is super OP. We can select a spot on the map to play audio. However, it doesn't just play it in that spot. The audio starts at our location and moves towards the designated spot, meaning that it will lure anything in its path. This also means that its range really isn't an issue at all. Combined with the fact that all the animatronics will pretty much always be lured by the audio, we can pretty much just keep the animatronics in a corner. The fourth method of defense is the hack. For some reason, a shipping company has direct access to the character's servos, and we can hack into them. Pretty much, it's a slower version of audio, and we can only hack one animatronic at a time. By now, I'm sure you may have noticed the stability meter in the bottom left of the security tab. Anytime we use a security feature, the stability slowly wears down. Until about 50% is the security actually usable, then we actually have to go reboot it. There are also 2 more methods of defense located in the office. The first of which is the flashlight, which we can use momentarily until it goes out and recharges. We can use the flashlight to look through the office window for any animatronics. 2 of them can be warded off just by shining the light in their eyes. However, for the other 3, there's a little more to their attacks. If you see Jollibee, Hetty, or Twirly standing in the window, you need to hide under the desk. This is the second method of defense in the office, and in my opinion, the most underutilized. Basically, when the animatronics are in the offense, we sit under the desk and avoid any type of contact. I wish there was a little more to it though, like the holding breath mechanic if they were able to look under, similar to the Jolly games, but I digress. The mechanics are actually pretty easy to learn for the most part. It makes sense to have simple mechanics if your main focus isn't on the animatronics. Speaking of which, on night 1 the only animatronic active is Popo, and now might be as good of a time as any to discuss the redesigns. The Phase 2 animatronics are my favorite cast in a fan game ever. The designs are just so good. Ivan wanted the Phase 2 characters to closely resemble their real-life counterparts. This includes all of the awkward details and dead space you get when you design a real costume. In most fan games, the models are made to be as presentable as possible, but in making the models photorealistic, they're much creepier, almost disturbingly accurate. If I'm being honest, I think that's what made Phase 2 so scary. There's a very real element present in the game, and it left me feeling uneasy even after I closed out. My advice to character modelers for fan games: make your characters more uncanny. Upon finishing night 1, we get our first paycheck. You can earn up to $1,200 each night, but can be docked $50 for every error. Going back to the menu, we have unlocked the Jobs panel. In it, we can complete some extra tasks for some overtime pay. These are equivalent to the post-shift tasks from Jollibee's. Now you can do them whenever you want and as many times over. This can be used to farm cash, but I find it gets boring after a while. The jobs available are pretty simple, like printing labels, rearranging and checking boxes, etc. I found that by far the easiest job was box transportation, as Popo is the only active enemy and you really only have to listen for breathing. By far the hardest for me was driving, as you have to maneuver this box transporting robot, except it takes forever and Jollibee is just way too aggressive. Also, Hetty is there for some reason. So now that you have a basic understanding of Jollibee's Phase 2, what makes this game so disturbing? Skipping ahead to the end of Night 5, where after completing our shift we unlock some archive footage. This is an audio log of Kevin Johnson, the CEO of Jolly Entertainment. And I just have to preface by saying that any of this isn't canon to the Jolly lore anymore, if you even want to keep up with that. Kevin tells us that he started the Soul Captivation project to preserve human life. However, he tested it on himself, dying inside the Jolly suit. What's even more unsettling is the cutscene after.
Phase 2 will begin in 3, 2, 1.
That's where Phase 2 ends. As interesting as that was, this is only the beginning. This was to be explained in the series finale, Jollibee's As Above, So Below. Unfortunately, in early of July 2020, Ivan would receive notice from Jollibee that by making Jollibee's Phase 2 and As Above, So Below, he was infringing copyright law. Do you remember earlier when I mentioned that Ivan made this fan game based off real characters? Well, the unthinkable happened. Ivan was forced to completely remove all traces of the Jollibee's games and stop production on As Above, So Below. Sadly, we never got to see what that third and final game would entail. From what we do know, the game was shaping up to be one of the most dark and graphic fan games ever. I plan on covering it one day, but until then, it remains a relic of the past. And that's where the story ends. As sad as it is to see this game removed from the face of the internet, it was nice to take a trip down memory lane and replay this game. It may not be perfect by any means, but it has a special place in my heart as one of the most disturbing fan games I've ever played. As for the Jolly series, it's still going, and the finale, Jolly 4, is still in development. To hear me talk about an underrated fan game, click here. Thanks for watching!